In this lesson, we are going to walk through how to configure your Pptp VPN connection on your RE series router user interface. Let's talk about what Pptp VPN is and why we might use this feature. Pptp is another form of VPN, which is a virtual private network that allows remote access to devices on a private network over a public network such as the internet. What it does is once this point-to-point tunneling protocol has been connected, it acts as though your computer, a laptop, or other wireless client is directly connected to this private network and provides the capability to access devices on this private network using their local IP information. So rather than setting up a port forward for every device from the router, setting up a Pptp connection may be easier. So let's start by configuring Pptp VPN from the RE router GUI. First, if the router information is still at default, then you will type 192.168.1.99 in the address bar of your web browser. Then the login information is Pakedge and Pakedge R for router. Once logged in, from the dashboard, you will navigate to the VPN menu option. And here is where you're going to be navigated to the Pptp Setup. Now, there are three items we need to verify: whether or not to enable or disable the Pptp VPN access using the checkbox, set up the Pptp IP range for users that utilize this feature, and add or remove Pptp user access. So first thing first, if we want to use the Pptp access immediately, then we want to click on the enable checkbox. So once we apply our changes and our updates, we can test this VPN access. Otherwise, we can keep this option unchecked and enable when ready. Our second step is setting up the Pptp IP range. This will be our client IP start and client IP end range. Please note that this range is going to match that of the internal or VLAN 1 IP subnet. For example, if the internal IP range is 192.168.0, then the range for the Pptp must also be 192.168.0. If the internal IP range is 192.168.10, then the Pptp range must also be 192.168.10. So in this case, we know our IP address for the router is 192.168.1.99, so our Pptp IP range must be on a 192.168.1 subnet. We will fill in the starting IP and ending IP at 192.168.1.10 through 192.168.1.20. Now the last item is the user information. On this page, there is a default Pptp user already set up, and the login information is as follows: Pakedge and Pakedge V for VPN. Now, if we want to remove or edit this user, we may do so by first highlighting the username and entering in the information preferred to use, then doing the same for the password. Once this has been completed, we can choose to either add an additional Pptp user or be done and click on the apply button. And now moving forward, once all this information has been filled in and confirmed, please be sure to reboot the router, which can be done from the GUI by navigating to Maintenance and Reboot. Once you select the Reboot button, the RE series router will now be rebooting. Now, once the router has finished rebooting, then we are ready for testing our Pptp setup on our computer or wireless client. Now, to provide a few troubleshooting tips to be aware of when testing a Pptp VPN connection. First, it is so important to make sure that the gateway information on the remote device matches that of the router. For example, if the remote device has an IP address of VLAN 2 at 192.168.2.5, then the gateway must also be on a 192.168.2.x subnet. If this information is not correct, then the remote device may not be accessible. Now, please keep in mind that this also applies for communication across VLANs. If there is a static gateway and it is displaying either a blank VLAN gateway or an incorrect VLAN gateway on the device, then there will be no open communication. Secondly, also very important when accessing a remote location is to verify that their local networks do not interfere with one another. For example, Location 1 is trying to get access to devices on location 2 that have subnet 192.168.3.x. Therefore, the network that location 1 sits must be different, such as 192.168.30.x, to properly differentiate between the two networks. Thank you for walking through configuring your Pptp VPN on the RE series router user interface.